Good evening, everyone. I wanted to do a quick recording of this prototype that I've been working on tonight. This goes along with the post that I made on levelcap.com today, August 7th, 2018, when I ran down exactly what I was working on. If you followed me in the blog and my efforts for any amount of time, you're probably familiar with the fact that I've tried to develop a space trading sim at least 17 times in the past 5 years. But most of those efforts have made some headway, but have eventually fallen by the wayside because I realized I bit off more than I can chew. So I'm taking it down a notch this time, and I'm making it a web game. Because my forte is web development, not so much design, but development. I can make things work, but making them look good is a little more difficult for me, which is why I started using Adobe's XD, which comes complete with my Creative Cloud subscription. It's a pretty good tool for anyone who needs to do layout for web or mobile or desktop. So here we're looking at just kind of a basic mock-up of, just some ideas. First pass, very rough, don't get too attached. What we got here is our title, obviously. We got a row of buttons here on a control panel. We've got our character and our name, the amount of money that we have, the type of ship that we have, I may change that to the name, and the current sector that we're in, which is reflected both here in the map and here on this little porthole out into the universe. Here in the porthole we've got our sector name as well as a wider organizational structure. In this case this is a region, the Horse Head Nebula we'll call it, just for the sake of calling it that. This down here is the chat window, which obviously looks familiar. I don't know if I'm going to have this. This depends upon whether or not I can actually pull off multiplayer and whether or not I think that actually having chat is a good idea, because it's going to have to probably record logs for harassment purposes. It's also going to have to be able to allow muting and all kinds of things. So that may be a small project in itself that I may not choose to take on. But the rest of it is kind of standard. So we've got two main sections. We've got your ship information and we've got your map. So here in the ship information, we've got the name of your ship as well as the type. And in this particular case, we have different sections on your silhouette, with the center here being cargo. So as this is a commodity trading game, you will be going to space stations and planets to buy low and sell high. It helps to know what you have in your cargo at a glance. So we will have this information here, straight up. So you'll be able to see the item, the quantity, maybe how much you paid for it. I guess I don't know, that'd be kind of tricky because you may buy some over here and you may buy some over there, and it may merge the two, and the prices may have been different. So I don't know. We'll see. Maybe we'll take an average, but we might have like legality over here, which would change depending upon the system you're in, and then maybe some buttons that allow you to space the cargo if you don't want to have it, or you could attempt to smuggle it based on your skills and abilities if it's an item that is less than legal based on the sector that you're in. I don't know, I came up with that right now, so I'll have to think about that. But the key is that in order to you can kind of look around your ship to see what you got. Up here in the cockpit, we got our ship stats. So this is the brain center of your ship. So this is all your stats. Things like your speed, your shields, your current hit points, the amount of damage you do, so on and so forth. If you click over here, we got our weapons. So this would list all of your weapons, the damage they do. I don't know if I'm going to do ammo. That may be too much of a pain in the butt. You could also do fighters. You buy fighters. Like in Trade Wars, that was primarily your means of defense, attack and defense, is to buy fighters. And you had to keep replenishing those. So it's kind of like an ammo, I guess. And this guy down here, I don't know if I'll keep this. This is engineering. This would basically list all of your systems, which systems, each item's health. So, your cockpit health, your cargo bay health, engine health, weapon health, scanner health, so on and so forth. Or this engineering may actually be where you can put items on or offline. So you may want to turn your weapons off. You may want to turn your shields off for some unknown reason. Turn your scanner on or off, and so on and so forth. So basically you can click around here and you can get different information about your ship as needed. Not really sure how often you'd be doing that, so I'll have to think about it. But over here you got your map, and this is probably more important. Right now we are in Sector 512, which is a red dwarf star system. The type of star may be relevant. I kind of came up with the idea when I was doing the design, so I don't even know if it's going to be relevant. But that could have an effect on certain things. It's not going to have any effect on whether or not there's a planet or a station, because that is strictly based on randomized information. If I threw randomizing the star into the mix and then assigned planets based on the star, that may get complicated and lengthy when starting a new game. Although it is possible to do that and then have the star type determine the type of planet, the number of planets, and the type and the position of certain planets, because I had that in notes for a previous game, so I may revisit that. But right now, let's just say for flavor, this is a red dwarf. All of these items around here are the gates that lead out of Sector 512. Gate 60, 72, 972, 6, and 244. So you are in Sector 512. There's absolutely nothing going on here in the Horsehead Nebula. So you're going to say, let's go over to Sector 6. So you click on Sector 6. Now over here, you are now in Sector 6, which is a yellow dwarf star. It is reflected here under your portrait, as well as over here on the image. You'll notice that you came from Sector 512, and Sector 512 is green. So any sector that you visited would be recorded and would show up in green. If we end up doing something like universe-wide events, a system may go into lockdown because of civil war or famine or disease or something like that. So we may actually color the gates like red to say that, you know, you can't go through this gate right now, or you have to have a certain security clearance, or maybe you could try and, you know, run the blockade or something like that, and that might be kind of cool. But over here, you'll notice that our image changed. So here in Sector 6, we have a space station, Ramses Station, in orbit around a planet, Arcturus Alpha. And I'm probably going to have some additional icons here around the star. Like over here, we might have a station icon. Over here, we might have a planet icon. Because what we want to do is, when you have a station, you click on the station, you dock at the station. When you dock at the station, this whole interface changes. Maybe this section only becomes cargo. Well, this section, this stays for flavor. This would change, and maybe this might go away. So the interface may take up this whole bit. But what we'd have is kind of like a sidebar. I'm designing this now as we speak. A little sidebar that basically has things like you know, the commodities market, the bar. Commodities market, obviously you buy and sell goods. That's strictly it. The bar, you go and you can get rumors, you can play the gambling game, you know, a la Trade Wars. You have the bank where you can go ahead and you can store, right now, just money. I'm not sure I want to store components or anything like that, but I want to store money, and I'm not sure as to whether or not I want it to be localized, meaning that you don't have access to your funds anywhere else in the system except at that particular bank. I don't know. Thinking about it. You'd also have things like the job board. So they would tell you that they need, this would be a case where if a system is in lockdown because of civil war, in that case, maybe the price of firearms goes up. So you'd basically buy firearms, you know, you'd have to find a source for firearms, buy them as low as possible, get them to a particular sector listed in the job within a certain amount of time, run the blockade, and deliver them to the station, right? And then you could actually get, you know, a bonus payout. That's a kind of system that I've had in mind for quite a while, so I really want to see if I can get a hold of that. Then you'd have the shipwright, which would allow you to buy and sell parts as well as repair any damage. I'm not sure I want to do ammo on weapons. That may just get kind of greasy, so I'm not really sure. As far as planets go, in Trade Wars, you could land on a planet where you would buy items. They don't buy from you. They produce. Planets produce. So they produced God, I can't even remember. There was, like organics and electronics and I don't know, something else I forget in Trade Wars. But planets produce, so you don't deliver anything to planet. Technically, in the lore pipeline, you ship things to the station delivers them to the planet produces, delivers them to the station, you buy from the station. That's kind of the deal. But you can go down to the planet and you can buy direct. Maybe we might lock that down as kind of an advanced thing. So you'd have to have a particular security clearance, particular quote-unquote faction rep in order to be able to land on the planet and deal directly with the locals. In Trade Wars, you can create planets with a Genesis device. You can also claim a planet and build a citadel, which is a defensible fortress, in which case, then you can have people that you can have produce things for you. So you don't even have to buy them. They just kind of filter into your storehouse, and then you can send them off, take off, and go sell them someplace else. I don't know if I want to go that far quite yet. It's certainly on the table. I'm not saying no, but we'll have to see if we can get how far we can get before we actually hit that point. That being said, there may be other opportunities for you to go to a planet. For example, if you do take a job where you have to deliver items, maybe deliver medicine to a diseased planet. Okay, so you'd have to essentially land on the planet, which, kind of isn't really, so I mean, the quarantine may be around the planet instead of the gate. So you may have to run that blockade, or you may have to bribe somebody, or you may have to have a certain faction rep. I don't know, it depends. So those are options. But essentially, this is kind of the layout I'm working on right now. Again, it's a work in progress, and this is all just kind of drag and drop stuff. So I have to see if I can translate this to a web page. As you can see here, it's a Space Trader 1920 by 1080. So that's kind of what I'm looking at here as far as the dimensions go. The artboard I think is a little bit bigger, so it's the window is 1920 by 1080, but I think the workable space is significantly less than that. So think of this as kind of like wall-to-wall on your browser. I also need to see about making sure that it's responsive. So if we did shrink it down to something else, like 1280 by 720 for 720p, I think, that it degrades gracefully. This is not intended to be a mobile game, so I'm not really super duper interested in trying to make it fit on a cell phone screen. Maybe if it's doable, a tablet would be okay, but yeah, I'm not aiming for phones. I may actually later on come up with a stripped down version. I mean, obviously you don't need to have this, or maybe this becomes the wallpaper in the background. This isn't super necessary to have all of this. You could just list cargo, so on and so forth. So that is pretty much all I have to offer right now. So I'm going to keep working on this. Right now, the only thing that I have working is the fact that the universe is generated. The player is placed in Sector 1, which has a planet and a station because it's a major hub. And the player can move between any of the sectors that are connected to your current sector. And that's basically about it. But I kind of need to shore up. I want to shore up this this design a little bit because I definitely know I want to have this map. So this is a given. Hopefully I can make it look a little better. But yeah, this is definitely a given. And this is pretty much a given too. So I'm going to need to find a bunch of I don't know, licensed artwork or something like that. Figure out how to pay for it and get to use it. So. Definitely want to make sure I got all my legal bases covered and people are attributed for their work. So that is all I have for tonight. Thanks for watching, and keep an eye on levelcap.com. I'll be posting updates, and hopefully I will not succumb to the curse that has plagued me for years, that whenever I start posting about my progress on this project, that's ultimately what derails me. So cross your fingers. Someday I'll get this game out the door.